Ethan Perry's world tilts as Nova, the Risian beauty, presses him against the cold metal wall of Nexus Station's dim corridor. Her violet eyes, wide with desperation, lock onto his. The air grows thick with her intoxicating pheromones, clouding Ethan's judgment. "Please, human," Nova whispers, her melodic voice strained. "I need your touch. Only you can provide relief without binding us eternally." Ethan's heart races. He's heard of the Risians' complex mating rituals, but never imagined he'd be caught in the crossfire. Nova's skin shimmers, a telltale sign of her species' intense mating season. Her proximity sends jolts of electricity through his body. The station's artificial gravity fluctuates, pushing Ethan closer to Nova. Their bodies press together, igniting a fire in his veins. He struggles to maintain composure, acutely aware of his position as Earth's lead negotiator. Alarms blare, piercing the tension-filled air. "Attention all personnel. Incoming vessel. Galactic Council ambassadors arriving for trade negotiations." Reality crashes back. Ethan's mind reels. The negotiations. Humanity's chance to secure its place in the galactic community. He can't jeopardize that, can he? Nova's fingers dig into his shoulders. "Ethan, please. I can't control it much longer." Heavy footsteps echo down the corridor. Commander Zax, Nova's intended mate, rounds the corner. His imposing figure casts a shadow over them, eyes blazing with fury. "Nova!" Zax bellows. "Step away from the human!" Ethan's diplomatic training kicks in. He assesses the situation rapidly. Nova's choice to seek him out could spark an interspecies incident. Earth's fragile standing in galactic politics hangs in the balance. His comm unit chirps. Earth Central Command's urgent message flashes across the screen. "Perry, your next move critical. Galactic Council watching. Humanity's future in your hands." Time slows. Ethan stands at the crossroads of desire and duty. Nova's pleading eyes bore into him. Zax's rage radiates through the corridor. The station hums with the arrival of the Galactic Council's ship. In this moment, Ethan holds the power to shape humanity's destiny. His decision will ripple across the stars, affecting trade agreements, political alliances, and the very future of human-alien relations. With a deep breath, Ethan makes his choice. He steps forward, ready to face the consequences of his actions, whatever they may be. The fate of humanity rests on what happens next in this dimly lit corridor on Nexus Station. Ethan's heart pounded as he made his decision. In one fluid motion, he grasped Nova's wrist and pulled her towards a nearby maintenance closet. They slipped inside just as Commander Zax's heavy footsteps echoed around the corner. The closet was cramped and dimly lit, barely large enough for the two of them. Ethan's back pressed against a cold metal shelf as Nova's body pushed against his. Her skin shimmered in the low light, radiating an otherworldly heat. "Nova, I'll help you," Ethan whispered, his voice barely audible. "But we need to be quick and quiet." Nova nodded, her violet eyes filled with gratitude and lingering desperation. Ethan recalled his xenobiology briefings, searching his memory for information on Risian physiology. He placed his hands on Nova's shoulders, feeling the tension in her muscles. "Guide me," he murmured. "Where do I need to apply pressure?" Nova took his hands, moving them to specific points on her neck, shoulders, and along her spine. As Ethan began to apply pressure, he was surprised by the complexity of Risian anatomy. Each touch needed to be precise, almost like solving an intricate puzzle. Outside, Commander Zax's voice boomed. "Search every corner." Nova couldn't have gone far. The sound of doors opening and closing added to the tension inside the closet. Ethan tried to focus on helping Nova, but the fear of discovery took a toll on him. One wrong move could spark an interspecies incident and derail the upcoming negotiations. As Ethan worked, Nova's breathing began to slow. Her shimmering skin dimmed slightly, and her eyes gained clarity. "Thank you, Ethan," she whispered. "I can think clearly now. There's something you need to know about our mating cycles." Nova explained in hushed tones how Risian physiology was tied to cosmic radiation levels. As she spoke, Ethan's mind raced, connecting the dots. The incoming Galactic Council ship, could its unique radiation be affecting the Risians on the station? Suddenly, the artificial gravity fluctuated. Ethan lost his footing, stumbling forward. His hand slammed against the wall to brace himself, inadvertently activating a hidden panel. A secret compartment slid open, revealing a stack of data pads. Curiosity overrode caution. Ethan grabbed one of the pads, his eyes widening as he skimmed its contents. "Nova, look at this," he breathed. "These documents, they detail a conspiracy within the Galactic Council. They're exploiting species-specific vulnerabilities for trade advantages. Your mating cycle, they're using it against your people." Nova's expression hardened as she processed the information. "This is why the negotiations are so critical," she said. "We need to expose this, but carefully. If we're caught with these documents—" Ethan nodded grimly. The gravity of the situation settled over him like a heavy cloak. They had stumbled upon information that could reshape galactic politics, but using it came with enormous risks. His comm unit chirped, nearly causing him to drop the data pad. A message from Earth Central Command scrolled across the screen. "Perry, urgent update. Dr. Alara Chen has made a breakthrough in interspecies biology. Potential solution for Rizian mating cycle. Needs direct access to Rizian subject for confirmation." Ethan's mind whirled with the implications. He turned to Nova, about to share the news, when the closet door rattled. Commander Zax's voice came from just outside. "Check this section again. I sense something." Freezing in place, Ethan and Nova held their breath. The door handle jiggled, but the lock held. After an agonizing moment, Zax's footsteps moved away. "We need to get out of here," Ethan whispered urgently. "But how?" Nova's eyes lit up. "The gravity fluctuations. We can use them as a distraction." Ethan quickly formulated a plan. "When the next fluctuation hits, we'll make our move. We need to get these documents to the right authorities, connect you with Dr. Chen, and prepare for the negotiations." As if on cue, the station rumbled. In the distance, the sound of the Galactic Council, ship docking, reverberated through the walls. Time was running out. Ethan pocketed the data pad and placed his hand on the door handle. "Ready?" he asked Nova. She nodded, drive etched on her face. The gravity shifted again. Ethan threw open the door and they burst into the corridor. Alarms blared, mixing with shouts of surprise from nearby crew members. In the chaos of floating objects and disoriented personnel, Ethan and Nova sprinted towards the main concourse. Behind them, Commander Zax's enraged roar cut through the cacophony. "Stop them!" Ethan's mind raced as they ran. He had the evidence, a potential solution for the Rizians, and minutes to spare before the most important negotiations in human history. With every step, the fate of multiple species hung in the balance. As they rounded a corner, Ethan caught sight of the Earth delegation in the distance. Dr. Chen stood among them, her eyes widening as she spotted Nova. It was now or never. Ethan tightened his grip on Nova's hand and surged forward, knowing that the next few moments would shape the future of galactic relations for years to come. As Ethan and Nova rounded the corner, the station's gravity suddenly intensified, throwing them off balance. Ethan stumbled, his shoulder slamming into a nearby wall. Nova's grip on his hand tightened as she fought to stay upright. "What's happening?" Nova gasped, her violet eyes wide with alarm. Before Ethan could respond, the gravity reversed, lifting them off their feet. Around them, chaos erupted. Station personnel floated helplessly, colliding with each other and loose equipment. Alarms blared, their urgent wails adding to the pandemonium. Ethan's quick thinking kicked in. He pushed off the wall, propelling himself and Nova towards a nearby safety rail. "Hold on!" he shouted over the din. They clung to the rail as the gravity fluctuations continued, watching the mayhem unfold around them. Through the confusion, a familiar voice boomed. "There they are!" Commander Zax's imposing figure appeared at the far end of the corridor, his eyes locked on Nova. The Rizian commander began to maneuver through the floating debris with surprising agility. "We need to split up," Ethan said, his mind racing. He pressed the data pad into Nova's hands. "Take this. I'll lead him away. Meet me at the security hub." Nova nodded, her expression a mix of dedication and concern. "Be careful, Ethan." As another gravity shift hit, they pushed off in opposite directions. Ethan caught a glimpse of Nova's shimmering form disappearing around a corner before he focused on his own escape. He weaved through the chaos, using the erratic gravity to his advantage. Floating equipment became stepping stones, and panicked crew members unintentional obstacles for his pursuer. Ethan's heart pounded as he heard Zax's enraged shouts growing closer. Rounding a corner, Ethan found himself in the station's hydroponics bay. The usually serene space was now a whirlwind of floating plants and mist. He ducked behind a large fern, watching as Zax entered the bay. The commander's nostrils flared as he scanned the area. "I can smell you, human," Zax growled. "You can't hide forever." Ethan held his breath, mind racing for a solution. His eyes landed on a control panel for the bay's irrigation system. With a silent prayer, he lunged for it, fingers flying over the interface. Suddenly, a torrent of water erupted from the ceiling sprinklers. The unexpected deluge caught Zax off guard, sending him tumbling in the low gravity. Ethan seized the opportunity, propelling himself towards the exit. As he navigated the flooded corridors, Ethan's comm unit crackled to life. "Perry, what in blazes is going on?" The voice belonged to Chief Security Officer Lyra, her usual stoic tone tinged with alarm. "Lyra, I need your help," Ethan panted, dodging a floating food tray. "Meet me at the security hub. It's urgent." He could almost hear Lyra's frown through the comm. "This better be good, Perry." Ethan finally reached the security hub, his uniform soaked and his lungs burning. Lyra was waiting, her Andromedan features set in a stern expression. "Explain," she demanded. Breathless, Ethan recounted his discovery of the classified documents and the Galactic Council's conspiracy. Lyra's expression shifted from skepticism to shock as he spoke. "This is unprecedented," Lyra said, her voice low. She turned to her console, fingers flying over the controls. "I'm initiating a security lockdown. We need to buy some time before the council representatives arrive." As Lyra worked, Ethan's thoughts turned to Nova. Had she managed to evade Zax? His worry was interrupted by a new alert on his comm unit. "Ethan, it's Dr. Chen," came a breathless voice. "I've found your Rizian friend. We're in my lab, but we're locked in due to the security protocols. We need your help." Ethan's relief at Nova's safety was short-lived as a new crisis emerged. Warning lights flashed across Lyra's console. "The Galactic Council ship," Lyra said, her voice tense. "Its radiation is interfering with our power core. If we don't stabilize it soon—" She didn't need to finish the sentence. Ethan understood the gravity of the situation. The station, along with everyone on it, was in danger. As if on cue, the lights in the security hub flickered ominously. The gravity shifted again, sending loose objects flying across the room. "We need to act fast," Ethan said, gripping the edge of Lyra's console. "Can you get me to Dr. Chen's lab?" Lyra shook her head. "The lockdown protocol I initiated, it sealed off sections of the station, including the research wing." Frustration welled up in Ethan. They were so close, yet so far. Dr. Chen's research could be the key to solving both the diplomatic crisis and the station's technical problems. But with the station locked down and communications limited, how could they bring all the pieces together? As Ethan wrestled with this dilemma, a new voice crackled over the station's intercom. "Attention all personnel. This is Commander Zax. I demand an immediate audience with the station administrator. If Nova is not returned to me within the hour, Rizian support for the trade negotiations will be withdrawn." "This is not a negotiation." Ethan's stomach dropped. The situation was spiraling out of control. He needed to find a way to reach Nova and Dr. Chen, neutralize the radiation threat, expose the conspiracy, and somehow keep the negotiations on track. As the gravity fluctuated once more, Ethan caught sight of a Zarthan engineer struggling to maintain his footing near the hub's entrance. The alien's unique appendages, designed for interfacing with technology, gave Ethan an idea. "Hey, you there," Ethan called out. "I need your help." The Zarthan turned, his compound eyes blinking in surprise. "Me? I'm Grick. What can I do?" Ethan took a deep breath, knowing his next words could either save them all or land him in serious trouble. "Grick, how would you like to help save this station?" "Station," Ethan finished, his eyes locked on the Zarthan engineer. Grick's compound eyes blinked rapidly, processing Ethan's words. After a moment's hesitation, he nodded. "I'm in. What do you need?" Ethan turned to Lyra, who was still monitoring the chaotic situation on her console. Lyra, I need you to keep the command staff distracted. Can you do that? The Andromedan security officer raised an eyebrow but nodded curtly. Consider it done. But Perry, if this goes sideways... I know, Ethan said, his voice grim. I'll take full responsibility. With Lyra's tacit approval, Ethan guided Grick to a nearby access panel. The Zarthan's unique appendages unfurled, interfacing directly with the station's systems. As Grick worked, lines of code flashed across the screen at dizzying speeds. I'm creating a series of backdoors, Grick explained, his voice strained with concentration. It should allow you to bypass the lockdown protocols and move freely between sealed sections. Alarms blared louder as Grick's modifications triggered additional security measures. Ethan winced, knowing they were drawing unwanted attention, but pressed on. Done, Grick announced, retracting his appendages. But be warned, the station's systems are in chaos. It won't be an easy journey. Ethan nodded, already moving towards the exit. Thanks, Grick. Lyra, keep me updated on the core's status. With that, he plunged into the maelstrom of Nexus Station's corridors. The scene that greeted him was one of utter pandemonium. Crew members of various species stumbled and floated through the hallways, struggling against the erratic gravity. Equipment torn free from its moorings careened through the air, adding to the danger. Ethan pushed through the chaos, using Grick's back doors to navigate sealed bulkheads. Each section he passed through presented new challenges, rooms filled with swirling mist from ruptured coolant lines, corridors bathed in the eerie glow of emergency lighting, and once a hydroponics bay where floating plants created a surreal jungle-like obstacle course. After what felt like hours but was likely only minutes, Ethan reached the medical wing. He found the lab where Dr. Chen and Nova were trapped, using Grick's access to override the door controls. As the door slid open, Ethan was momentarily stunned by the sight that greeted him. Nova lay on an examination table, her skin pulsing with an intense, otherworldly glow. The bioluminescence bathed the room in a soft violet light that seemed to ebb and flow with her labored breathing. Dr. Chen looked up from her instruments, relief washing over her face. Ethan, thank goodness. We're running out of time. Ethan approached the table, his concern for Nova evident in his voice. How is she? Her condition is accelerating rapidly, Dr. Chen explained, gesturing to a screen filled with complex biological data. The radiation from the Galactic Council's ship is exacerbating her mating cycle. But I've made a breakthrough. As Dr. Chen detailed her findings, Ethan's mind raced. The doctor's proposed stabilizing compound could be the key to solving multiple crises at once. Nova's condition, the station's power problems, and possibly even the larger diplomatic issues at stake. What do you need to synthesize this compound? Ethan asked urgently. Dr. Chen's expression turned grim. There's a rare element stored in the station's high-security vault. Without it, I can't complete the synthesis. Ethan's comm unit crackled to life with Lyra's voice. Perry, the core's instability is reaching critical levels. Whatever you're planning, do it fast. The gravity shifted again, nearly knocking Ethan off his feet. He steadied himself against the exam table, his hand brushing against Nova's arm. The contact sent a jolt through him, her skin hot to the touch and vibrating with barely suppressed energy. Nova's eyes fluttered open, focusing on Ethan with effort. Ethan, she whispered, her voice strained. You came back for me. Of course I did, Ethan replied, surprised by the intensity of emotion in his own voice. We're going to fix this, Nova, I promise. A commotion in the corridor outside snapped Ethan back to the urgency of their situation. Commander Zax's voice boomed, growing closer. Check every room. They must be here somewhere. Ethan's mind raced, formulating a plan. Dr. Chen, can you move Nova? The doctor nodded, already preparing a portable life support unit. It's not ideal, but we don't have a choice. As they prepared to move, the lab door burst open. Commander Zax stood in the doorway, flanked by a team of Rizian soldiers, their weapons raised. Step away from her, Zax growled, his eyes fixed on Nova's glowing form. Ethan moved instinctively, placing himself between the Rizians and Nova. His hand went to his pocket, feeling the outline of the data pad containing the classified information. "Commander Zax," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "Before you do anything rash, there's something you need to know about the Galactic Council's true motives." Zax's eyes narrowed, but he held up a hand, signaling his soldiers to hold their position. "Explain, human, quickly!" Ethan took a deep breath, knowing his next words could change the course of interstellar relations. "The Council has been exploiting the Rizian mating cycle for their own gain. They've manipulated trade deals, taking advantage of your people's vulnerability." He pulled out the data pad, holding it up for Zax to see. The Rizian commander's expression shifted from anger to shock as he skimmed the incriminating information. The moment of stunned silence was broken by a violent tremor that shook the entire station. Alarms blared with renewed urgency. "We don't have much time," Ethan pressed. "Dr. Chen has a solution that could help Nova and save the station, but we need access to the high-security vault." Zax's internal struggle was visible on his face. Finally, he lowered his weapon. "What do you need me to do?" Relief washed over Ethan, but he knew they weren't out of danger yet. "Help us get to the vault. Your diplomatic clearance combined with mine might be enough to override the lockdown." As Zax nodded his agreement, Ethan's comm unit crackled again. Lyra's voice came through, tight with tension. "Perry, the power core's gone critical. Station-wide evacuation protocols have been initiated. Whatever you're doing, do it now." Ethan looked around at the unlikely team assembled before him. A human diplomat, a Rizian commander, an Earth scientist, and a glowing alien in the throes of a mating cycle. The fate of Nexus Station, and possibly the future of human-alien relations, rested in their hands. "Let's move," Ethan ordered, helping Dr. Chen secure Nova to the portable life support unit. "We've got a station to save." As they rushed out of the lab and into the chaotic corridors of Nexus Station, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that the next few moments would determine the course of galactic history. With Nova's life hanging in the balance and time running out, he steeled himself for the challenges ahead, knowing that failure was not an option. An option. The fate of Nexus Station hung in the balance, and they were the only ones who could prevent catastrophe. Ethan led the way, his mind racing as they navigated the treacherous corridors. Nova's glowing form, secured to the portable life support unit, cast an eerie violet light that danced across the walls. Dr. Chen kept pace, her fingers flying over a data pad as she monitored Nova's vitals. Commander Zax brought up the rear, his weapon at the ready, eyes scanning for potential threats. As they approached the power core, the station's tremors intensified. The floor beneath their feet bucked and heaved, threatening to send them sprawling. Ethan's comm unit crackled with Lyra's urgent voice. "Perry, you're running out of time. The core's instability is reaching critical levels. Whatever you're planning, do it now." They rounded the final corner, and the sight before them made Ethan's breath catch in his throat. The power core, usually a model of controlled energy, now pulsed with chaotic, nearly unleashed power. Arcs of electricity danced across its surface, and the air itself seemed to crackle with tension. Grick was already there, his appendages interfaced with a nearby console. His compound eyes widened as he saw the approaching group. "I've been trying to stabilize the core, but the radiation levels are off the charts." Dr. Chen wasted no time. She rushed to Grick's side, quickly assessing the situation. "We need to administer the compound directly into the core's coolant system. Ethan, help me set up the injection mechanism." As Ethan and Dr. Chen worked to prepare the stabilizing compound, Nova's glow intensified. The Rizian's eyes fluttered open, her gaze locking onto Ethan. "The radiation," she gasped, her voice barely above a whisper. "I can feel it, resonating with me." Ethan paused, an idea forming. "Dr. Chen, could Nova's bioluminescence help shield us from the radiation?" The doctor's eyes lit up with realization. "Of course, her physiology is uniquely adapted to high radiation environments. If we can harness that..." A series of explosions rocked the station, cutting off Dr. Chen's words. Alarms blared with renewed urgency as debris rained down around them. Commander Zax's comm unit crackled to life. "Sir, we've detected multiple intruders. They're headed for the core." Zax's face hardened. Saboteurs! They must be trying to cover their tracks. He turned to Ethan, his expression grim. We'll hold them off. You focus on saving the station. As Zax and his soldiers took up defensive positions, Ethan and Dr. Chen worked feverishly to integrate Nova's bioluminescent properties into their plan. Grick's appendages flew across the console, making real-time adjustments to the core's systems. We're ready, Dr. Chen announced, her voice tight with tension. Ethan, we need to move Nova closer to the core. Her energy will help stabilize the radiation levels while we administer the compound. Ethan carefully maneuvered Nova's support unit into position. As they drew closer to the pulsing core, Nova's glow intensified, creating a protective bubble around them. The oppressive heat and crackling energy seemed to part around her radiant form. Dr. Chen began the delicate process of injecting the compound into the core's systems. Ethan stood by, ready to assist, his eyes darting between the doctor's work and Nova's glowing form. Suddenly, the station shuddered violently. The sound of weapons fire echoed from the corridor outside. They've breached the outer defenses, Zax shouted over the din. We can't hold them much longer. Ethan's mind raced. They needed more time. He glanced at Nova, seeing the strain on her face as she channeled her energy to protect them. An idea struck him. Dangerous, perhaps foolish, but potentially their only chance. Dr. Chen, he called out, the compound is working, but it's not enough. We need a massive energy discharge to fully neutralize the radiation. The doctor's eyes widened as she realized what Ethan was suggesting. Nova's energy? But Ethan, the risks. I know, Ethan cut her off, his voice heavy with the weight of the decision. He turned to Nova, whose eyes were already fixed on him, understanding dawning in their depths. Nova, he said softly, taking her hand. Your energy could save us all, but it could harm you. I can't ask you to... You don't need to ask, Nova interrupted, her voice stronger than before. I volunteer. The gravity of the moment hung between them. Ethan searched Nova's eyes, seeing willpower in something else, a connection that transcended their differences. All right, Ethan nodded, his throat tight. Dr. Chen, how do we do this? As the doctor quickly outlined the procedure, the sounds of battle grew closer. Zax and his soldiers were being pushed back, the saboteurs advancing with each passing second. With Nova's consent, they began the energy transfer process. As her bioluminescence intensified, Ethan stayed by her side, offering support and comfort. The core's chaotic energy began to stabilize, the radiation levels dropping rapidly. But as the process continued, Nova's glow started to dim. Ethan could see the strain on her face, feel the weakening pulse in her hand. We have to stop, he urged, looking to Dr. Chen. It's too much for her. The doctor shook her head, her expression pained. If we stop now, we risk losing everything. The core needs just a bit more. In that moment, Ethan made a decision that would change everything. Without hesitation, he placed his hands on Nova's shoulders, forming a physical connection between them. Take what you need from me, he said, his eyes locked with hers. As their energies merged, Ethan felt a surge of power unlike anything he'd ever experienced. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving only their shared connection and the pulsing heart of the station's core. In that moment of profound union, human and Rizian, the fate of Nexus Station hung in the balance. Balance. As the energy surge subsided, Ethan felt his consciousness return to the present moment. He blinked, his vision clearing to reveal the power core now pulsing with a steady, controlled rhythm. The alarms had fallen silent, replaced by the hum of stabilizing systems. It worked, Dr. Chen breathed, her eyes wide with disbelief as she scanned the readouts. The core is stabilizing. Radiation levels are dropping rapidly. Ethan turned to Nova, still connected to her through their physical contact. Her glow had dimmed, but her eyes were bright and alert. Are you okay? He asked, his voice hoarse. Nova nodded weakly, a small smile playing on her lips. I feel different, balanced. Before Ethan could respond, Commander Zax's voice cut through the moment. The intruders are retreating. We've secured the area. As the immediate danger passed, the gravity of what they had accomplished began to sink in. Ethan helped Nova to her feet, supporting her as she found her balance. Dr. Chen and Greek worked furiously at the nearby console, coordinating with station control to assess the damage and begin repairs. Over the next few hours, emergency teams swarmed Nexus Station. Ethan and his unlikely allies found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity, debriefings, and medical examinations. As the adrenaline wore off, exhaustion set in, but there was no time to rest. Ethan's comm unit chirped with an incoming message. He activated it, revealing the stern face of a Galactic Council representative. "Diplomat Perry, your presence is required immediately in the Central Chamber. The Council demands a full briefing on the situation." Ethan exchanged glances with Nova, who nodded her understanding. "We'll be there," he confirmed. As they made their way to the Central Chamber, Ethan couldn't help but notice the stares and whispers that followed them. News of their role in saving the station had spread quickly, and the sight of a human and Rizian walking side by side was drawing significant attention. The Central Chamber, newly repaired and gleaming, was packed with an array of alien dignitaries when they arrived. Ethan recognized representatives from a dozen different species, their expressions ranging from curiosity to barely concealed hostility. At the head of the chamber stood Ambassador Zelthor, an Arcturian known for his skills in interspecies mediation. His forearms were folded across his chest as he regarded the assembled group with keen interest. "Diplomat Perry," Zelthor's resonant voice filled the chamber. "We've heard reports of your actions, but we require a full accounting. Please, enlighten us." Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped forward. He began to recount the events that had transpired, from the discovery of the conspiracy to the desperate measures taken to save Nexus Station. As he spoke, he could see the shock and disbelief rippling through the gathered representatives. "The exploitation of Rizian biology for political gain is unconscionable," one counselor interjected, her tentacles writhing with agitation. "And yet," another added, eyeing Nova cautiously, "we cannot ignore the unprecedented cooperation between human and Rizian demonstrated here." As the council members debated amongst themselves, Ambassador Zelthor raised a hand for silence. "It seems clear that we face a crisis of trust within our galactic community, but perhaps in this crisis, we also find opportunity." The Arcturian's gaze swept the room before settling on Ethan and Nova. "I propose the formation of a new interspecies task force, led by Diplomat Perry and Nova. Their unique bond and proven ability to work together could be invaluable in preventing future conspiracies and fostering greater understanding between our peoples." A murmur of surprise rippled through the chamber. Ethan felt Nova tense beside him, her hand brushing against his in a gesture of silent support. Before the council could fully react to Zelthor's proposal, the chamber doors burst open. Lyra, the station's security chief, strode in, her face grim. "Apologies for the interruption, but I have urgent news. We've captured the saboteurs, but their interrogation has revealed a larger network of conspirators still at large throughout the galaxy." The chamber erupted into chaos as council members argued over the implications of this new information. Ethan watched as Ambassador Zelthor conferred quietly with several key representatives, their expressions growing more serious by the moment. Finally, Zelthor addressed the room once more. "In light of this new information, I believe the need for our proposed task force is even more pressing. We must act swiftly to root out this conspiracy before it can cause further damage to our fragile alliance." As the council deliberated, Ethan felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to find Dr. Chen, her eyes alight with excitement. "Ethan, I need to speak with you privately. I've made a breakthrough in my research that could change everything." Before Ethan could respond, a commotion near the chamber's entrance caught his attention. A group of reporters had managed to push their way inside, cameras flashing as they captured images of Ethan and Nova standing side by side. "Diplomat Perry! Nova!" one reporter called out. "How do you respond to allegations that your relationship violates interspecies protocols?" Ethan felt a surge of protective instinct as he stepped slightly in front of Nova, shielding her from the onslaught of questions. He opened his mouth to respond, but Ambassador Zelthor beat him to it. "There will be time for press conferences later," the Arcturian stated firmly. "For now, we have urgent matters to discuss. Please, clear the chamber." As security escorted the reporters out, Ethan's comm unit buzzed again. His heart sank as he read the incoming message from Earth Central Command, expressing deep concern about his involvement with Nova and the potential impact on humanity's standing in the galactic community. Ethan looked up, meeting Nova's eyes. In that moment, he realized the true weight of the decisions that lay before them. Their actions in the coming days would not only shape their own futures, but potentially the course of galactic history itself. Ambassador Zelthor approached, his expression grave but determined. Diplomat Perry Nova, the Council has reached a decision. We're prepared to move forward with the task force. But I must warn you, the stakes are higher than ever. Are you ready for what lies ahead? Ethan exchanged a long look with Nova, seeing in her eyes the same mix of trepidation and determination that he felt. Whatever challenges they faced, they would face them together. He turned back to Zelthor, his voice steady as he replied, We're ready, Ambassador. What's our first mission? Mission, Ethan replied, his voice steady despite the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. Ambassador Zelthor nodded approvingly. Excellent. Your ship awaits in Docking Bay 7. It's been specially outfitted to accommodate your diverse team. As they made their way to the docking bay, Dr. Chen pulled Ethan aside. About that breakthrough I mentioned, she whispered, her eyes darting around to ensure they weren't overheard. I believe I've found a way to stabilize Nova's condition permanently. We'll need to discuss it further once we're underway. Ethan's heart leaped at the news, but before he could respond, they arrived at their ship. The sleek vessel gleamed under the bay lights, its hull adorned with the newly minted insignia of their interspecies task force. Commander Zax was already at the entrance, coordinating the final preparations. Everything's set, he reported as the team boarded. We can depart as soon as you give the word. With a final glance at Nova, who offered a reassuring nod, Ethan gave the command to launch. The ship hummed to life, its advanced systems designed to cater to the varied physiologies of its crew. As they cleared Nexus Station's docking area, Ethan felt a surge of optimism. However, that feeling was short-lived. Barely an hour into their journey, alarms blared throughout the ship. What's happening? Ethan demanded, rushing to the bridge. Grick, their Vexillian engineer, was frantically working at a console. The ship's systems are malfunctioning, he reported, his tentacles flying over the controls. There's some kind of interference between the human and Rizian biosignatures. It's causing cascading failures across multiple systems. Nova joined them, her bioluminescence flickering erratically. I can feel it, she said, her voice strained. Something's wrong with the ship's energy field. Ethan quickly assessed the situation. We need to land immediately. Grick, any habitable planets nearby? The engineer's eyes darted across the star charts. There's one, designated XR-27. It's uncharted, but preliminary scans show a breathable atmosphere. Set a course, Ethan ordered. Zax, prepare the team for an emergency landing. The ship shuddered as it entered XR-27's atmosphere. Ethan gripped his seat, watching as the planet's surface came into view, a vast expanse of lush, green jungle stretching as far as the eye could see. With a bone-jarring thud, they touched down in a small clearing. As the dust settled, Ethan activated the ship's external sensors. Atmosphere is breathable, he announced. Gravity slightly lower than Earth standard. Temperature tropical. Dr. Chen approached, her medical scanner already active. We should be safe to disembark, but I recommend caution. We don't know what kind of life forms might exist here. Ethan nodded, then turned to address the team. All right, here's the situation. We're stranded until we can repair the ship. Our primary objective is to get communications back online and contact the Galactic Council. Grick, I want you and Dr. Chen to focus on the ship's repairs. Zax, organize a perimeter and set up a base camp. Nova and I will scout the immediate area for any resources that might help us. As the team dispersed to their tasks, Ethan and Nova ventured into the dense jungle. The air was thick with humidity, filled with the calls of unseen creatures. This place is incredible, Nova murmured, her eyes wide as she took in the alien flora. Her bioluminescence pulsed in response to the unfamiliar environment. Ethan found himself mesmerized by the play of light across her skin. Shaking his head to clear it, he focused on the task at hand. Let's see if we can find any useful materials for repairs. They had been exploring for nearly an hour when Nova suddenly froze. "Ethan," she whispered, pointing ahead. "Look." Following her gaze, Ethan's jaw dropped. Rising from the jungle floor were the unmistakable shapes of ancient ruins. Massive stone structures, covered in vines and weathered by time, stood in stark contrast to the natural surroundings. "This is incredible," Ethan breathed, approaching the nearest structure. Its surface was covered in intricate glyphs, unlike any he had seen before. Nova placed her hand on the stone, her bioluminescence intensifying. "There's energy here," she said, her voice filled with wonder. "It's singing to me." Before Ethan could respond, his communicator crackled to life. Zax's voice came through, filled with static. "Ethan, back to camp, immediately. We've got company." Exchanging a concerned glance with Nova, Ethan replied, "On our way. What kind of company?" The response was garbled, but one word came through clearly. "Aliens." As they rushed back to the camp, Ethan's mind raced. Had they stumbled upon an inhabited planet after all? And if so, what would it mean for their mission and their chances of getting off this world? The jungle seemed to close in around them as they ran, the unknown dangers of XR-27 suddenly feeling all too real. Whatever awaited them back at camp, Ethan knew that the next few moments could change the course of their mission, and potentially the fate of galactic relations forever. Forever. Their footfalls echoed through the dense foliage as they raced back to camp, the urgency of Zax's message spurring them on. As they burst into the clearing, Ethan's eyes widened at the sight before him. Hovering above the treetops was a massive ship, its sleek hull gleaming in the alien sunlight. It was unlike any vessel Ethan had ever seen, with organic curves and pulsing energy conduits that seemed to defy conventional engineering. "Dominion," Zax growled, his hand resting on his weapon. "They must have tracked our descent." Ethan's mind raced, assessing their options. They were outgunned and stranded on an unfamiliar world. Fighting wasn't an option, but neither was surrender. He glanced at Nova, her bioluminescence flickering rapidly in response to the tense situation. "We need to talk to them," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the fear coiling in his gut. "If we can establish communication, maybe we can avoid a conflict." Dr. Chen looked skeptical. "The Dominion aren't known for their diplomacy, Ethan. They're more likely to shoot first and ask questions later." "We don't have a choice," Ethan replied. "Grick, can you get our long-range comms working?" The Vexillian engineer nodded, his tentacles already dancing across a makeshift control panel. "I can route power from our emergency systems. It won't last long, but it should be enough to hail them." As Grick worked, Nova approached Ethan, her voice low. "There's something else, Ethan. These ruins, they're Zephyrian. My people were here, long ago, and I think I need to complete a ritual. It might be the key to unlocking my full abilities." Ethan's eyebrows shot up. "A ritual? Now? Nova? We're in the middle of a crisis." She placed a hand on his arm, her touch sending a familiar tingle through his body. "I know, but I can feel it. This is important, Ethan. It could change everything." Before Ethan could respond, Grick's voice cut through the tension. "Communication established. We're linked to the Dominion ship." Taking a deep breath, Ethan stepped forward. "This is Diplomat Ethan Perry of the Galactic Council Interspecies Task Force. We are on a peaceful mission and request parley." For a moment, there was only static. Then a deep, resonant voice filled the air. "This is Commander Krellax of the Dominion Expeditionary Force. Your presence on this world is unexpected, Diplomat Perry. Explain yourselves." Ethan launched into a brief explanation of their emergency landing, carefully omitting any mention of their original mission or the conspiracy they were investigating. As he spoke, he noticed Nova slipping away towards the ruins. He wanted to stop her, to demand an explanation, but he couldn't risk breaking off the delicate communication with the Dominion. "And so we find ourselves in need of assistance," Ethan concluded. "Perhaps we can meet to discuss this situation face to face." There was a long pause, and Ethan could almost feel the weight of Krellax's consideration. Finally, the Dominion commander replied, "Very well, Diplomat. We will send a landing party to your coordinates. Be warned, any sign of hostility will be met with immediate force." As the communication ended, Ethan turned to his team. Zax, Grick, you're with me. Dr. Chen, keep working on the ship's repairs. And where's Nova? Dr. Chen pointed towards the ruins. She said something about a ritual. Ethan, her readings are off the charts. Whatever she's doing, it's causing massive fluctuations in her bioenergy. Ethan's heart raced. He wanted to go after Nova, to make sure she was safe, but the approaching Dominion landing party demanded his attention. Keep an eye on her, he instructed Dr. Chen. Let me know immediately if anything changes. As the Dominion shuttle descended, kicking up a cloud of alien dust, Ethan steeled himself for the diplomatic challenge ahead. He couldn't shake the feeling that everything, their mission, their lives, perhaps even the fate of humanity and all alien species, hinged on the next few moments. The shuttle's doors hissed open, revealing Commander Krellex and his security detail. The Dominion were even more imposing in person, their exoskeletal armor gleaming with an otherworldly sheen. Krellex's four eyes fixed on Ethan, assessing him with cold calculation. Diplomat Perry, Krellex rumbled, his mandibles clicking softly. You claim to be here by accident, and yet we detect energy signatures consistent with advanced Zephyrian technology. Explain. Ethan opened his mouth to respond, but before he could speak, a blinding flash of light erupted from the direction of the ruins. A wave of energy washed over them, causing the Dominion's weapons to spark and sputter. In the silence that followed, Nova emerged from the jungle, but she was changed. Her skin shimmered with an iridescent glow, and her movements were filled with a new grace and purpose. She walked directly to Ethan's side, her eyes never leaving Krellex. Commander, Nova said, her voice resonating with newfound power. We don't have much time. There's something coming, something that threatens not just your people or mine, but every living being in the galaxy. Krellex's eyes narrowed, but Ethan could see a flicker of uncertainty in the Dominion commander's stance. What are you talking about, Zephyrian? Nova raised her hand, and a holographic projection sprang to life between them. It showed a massive, roiling mass of energy moving through space, consuming everything in its path. This is what your long-range sensors detected, isn't it? Nova asked. The reason you've been searching for advanced civilizations? Krellex's mandibles twitched in surprise. How could you possibly know that? Ethan stepped forward, seizing the moment. Commander, I think it's time we all laid our cards on the table. We're not here by accident, and I don't think you are either. Whatever's coming, it's clear we'll need to work together if we hope to stop it. As the gravity of the situation settled over the group, Ethan realized that their mission had just expanded far beyond anything they could have imagined. The conspiracy they'd been chasing, the tensions between species, all of it paled in comparison to the cosmic threat looming on the horizon. Nova's hand found Ethan's, their fingers intertwining. He could feel the new energy pulsing through her, a testament to the power of the Zephyrian ritual she had undergone. Whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together. Krellex studied them for a long moment before nodding slowly. Very well, Diplomat Perry. It seems we have much to discuss. But know this, the fate of our peoples, perhaps of the entire galaxy, may rest on what we decide here today. As they prepared to enter into negotiations that could reshape the future of galactic civilization, Ethan couldn't help but wonder, had they stumbled upon this planet by chance, or had some greater force drawn them here, to this moment? And more importantly, would they be able to unite in time to face the cosmic horror that threatened to devour them all? All? Ethan took a deep breath, his mind racing to process the enormity of the situation. The cosmic threat Nova had revealed changed everything. He glanced at his team, then back to Commander Krellex, whose mandibles twitched with hardly restrained tension. You're right, Commander, Ethan said, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. We need to pool our resources and knowledge if we're going to have any chance against this cosmic anomaly. Krellex nodded, his earlier hostility giving way to fierce dedication. Very well. We shall return to our ship and prepare for a joint briefing. I expect full transparency from your team, Diplomat Perry. As the Dominion shuttle lifted off, Ethan turned to Nova, his eyes wide with a mix of awe and concern. Nova, what happened to you in those ruins? And how do you know about this threat? Nova's iridescent skin pulsed softly as she spoke. The ritual. It unlocked something within me, Ethan. Ancient knowledge passed down through generations of my people. I can see it now. The pattern, the purpose of the Zephyrian presence on this world. Before she could elaborate further, Grick approached, his tentacles gesticulating excitedly. Captain, I've managed to integrate some of the Zephyrian technology from the ruins into our ship's systems. With Nova's help, I believe we can get it space-worthy again. Ethan nodded, his mind already formulating a plan. Good work, Grick. Let's get the ship repaired and ready for launch. We're going to need every advantage we can get. Over the next few hours, the team worked tirelessly to prepare for their departure. Nova and Grick focused on integrating the Zephyrian tech, while Dr. Chen ran diagnostics on the ship's life support systems. Zax coordinated with the Dominion security team, establishing protocols for their unprecedented alliance. As the alien sun began to set, casting long shadows across the clearing, Ethan stood before his assembled team and their new Dominion allies. The repaired and enhanced ship, now humming with newfound energy, served as a backdrop to his impromptu podium. We've all seen the data, Ethan began, his voice carrying across the attentive crowd. The cosmic anomaly poses a threat unlike anything we've ever faced. But we also have an opportunity here, a chance to put aside our differences and work together for the survival of all sentient life. He gestured to the ship behind him. This vessel is no longer just a galactic council craft. From this moment on, it represents our unity in the face of cosmic peril. I propose we christen her Unity as a symbol of our newfound cooperation. A murmur of approval rippled through the assembled group. Even Krelax nodded, his four eyes glinting with what might have been respect. Our first mission is clear, Ethan continued. Intelligence suggests that a key component of an ancient defensive network lies hidden in the Cygnus sector. We must secure it if we hope to have any chance against the anomaly. As the briefing concluded and final preparations were made, Ethan found himself alone with Nova near the ship's entrance. Her newly enhanced presence both comforted and unsettled him. "Are you sure you're okay?" he asked softly, reaching out to touch her luminescent arm. Nova's eyes met his, filled with an otherworldly wisdom. "I'm more than okay, Ethan. For the first time, I understand my purpose. Our purpose. We were meant to be here, to face this threat together." Before Ethan could respond, Zax's gruff voice called out from inside the ship. "All systems are go, Captain. We're ready for launch." With a final shared look of persistence, Ethan and Nova boarded the Unity. As the ship's engines roared to life, Ethan took his place at the command console, keenly aware of the diverse crew around him. Human, Zephyrian, Vexillian, and now Dominion. "Plot a course for the Cygnus sector," Ethan ordered, his voice firm. "Maximum speed." The Unity rose gracefully from the surface of XR-27, its hull gleaming with the integrated Zephyrian technology. As they breached the planet's atmosphere, the vast expanse of space opened up before them, beautiful and terrifying in its immensity. Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of a journey that would test them all to their limits. As the stars stretched into streaks of light around them, he silently vowed to do whatever it took to protect not just humanity, but all sentient life in the galaxy. Their course set for the Cygnus sector, the Unity and its unlikely crew hurtled through space, racing against time to secure the first piece of the ancient defensive network. The fate of countless worlds now rested on their shoulders, and the true test of their newfound alliance was about to begin. The Unity streaked through space, its newly integrated Zephyrian technology humming with impossibly strong power. As they approached Nebula Nexus, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that their next moves would be crucial in determining the future of the cosmos. Entering the Nexus system, Zax announced from the helm, "Sensor readings show high levels of activity in the central trading hub." Ethan nodded, his eyes fixed on the swirling gases and twinkling lights of the massive space station ahead. "Take us in, Zax, nice and easy." As they docked at one of the station's less conspicuous bays, Ethan gathered his team for a final briefing. The plan was multifaceted and fraught with risk, but it was their best shot at gaining the upper hand against the looming cosmic threat. "Commander Zax, you and Krellex will infiltrate the broker's network," Ethan said, his voice low and steady. "Find out where they're keeping those artifacts. Nova and I will work on stabilizing the ship's systems with the new component. Dr. Chen, Zara, your focus is on helping Nova control her powers. Any questions?" The team exchanged determined looks, each member acutely aware of the weight of their mission. With a nod from Ethan, they dispersed to their assigned tasks. Zax and Krellex, disguised as a pair of rough-looking traders, made their way into the bustling underbelly of Nebula Nexus. The station's lower levels were a maze of dimly lit corridors and seedy establishments, the perfect cover for illicit dealings. "Remember," Zax muttered to Krellex as they approached a particularly disreputable-looking bar, "we're just looking to make some quick credits, nothing too flashy." Krellex's mandibles clicked in agreement as they pushed through the door. The bar was filled with a diverse array of species, many of whom Zax couldn't even name. They took a seat at the counter, ordering drinks and keeping their ears open for any useful chatter. It didn't take long for word to spread that there were new buyers in town, interested in rare and potentially dangerous artifacts. After a few hours and several carefully placed bribes, Zax and Krellex found themselves face-to-face with one of the broker's lieutenants. "So you're looking for some specialty items," the lieutenant said, his three eyes blinking in an unsettling pattern. "What makes you think you can afford what we have to offer?" Zax leaned in, his voice a low growl. "Let's just say we've got friends in high places, very high places. Now, are you going to show us the goods, or do we take our business elsewhere?" The lieutenant studied them for a moment before nodding. "Follow me." Back on the Unity, Ethan and Nova worked tirelessly to integrate the crystalline component into the ship's systems. The task was delicate, requiring both Nova's enhanced abilities and Ethan's steady hand. "Careful," Ethan warned as Nova manipulated a stream of energy between her hands. "We don't want to overload the power couplings." Nova's brow furrowed in concentration, her skin shimmering with an otherworldly glow. "I can feel it, Ethan. The ship. It's like it's alive." As they worked, Dr. Chen and Zara monitored Nova's bio readings, making adjustments to help her maintain control over her fluctuating powers. "Fascinating," Dr. Chen murmured, her eyes flicking between multiple holographic displays. "The Zephyrian energy signatures are becoming more stable. Zara, can you boost the containment field?" Zara nodded, her fingers dancing over the controls. "Done? Nova, how do you feel?" "Stronger," Nova replied, her voice tinged with awe. "More connected." Hours passed as the team worked on their respective tasks. Ethan was just putting the finishing touches on the ship's new navigation system when his communicator crackled to life. "Captain," Zax's voice came through, tense with urgency. "We've got a location on the broker's main storage facility. Sending coordinates now." Ethan's pulse quickened. "Good work, Zax. Stay in position. We're on our way." He turned to the rest of the team. "This is it. Nova, Grick, you're with me. Dr. Chen, Zara, monitor the situation from here and be ready to provide support." As they prepared to depart, Ethan caught Nova's eye. There was a new intensity in her gaze, a barely suppressed power that both thrilled and unnerved him. "Are you ready for this?" he asked softly. Nova nodded, her skin pulsing with energy. More than ever. The strike team made their way through the winding corridors of Nebula Nexus, following Zax's coordinates. As they approached the storage facility, Ethan could feel the tension mounting. "Grick, can you disable their security systems?" Ethan whispered. The Vexillian engineer nodded, his tentacles already interfacing with a nearby access panel. "Give me 30 seconds. As Grick worked, Nova suddenly stiffened. "Ethan," she hissed, "I can sense something. Powerful energy signatures, and they're moving." Before Ethan could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The security system, more advanced than they had anticipated, had detected their presence. "So much for the element of surprise," Ethan muttered. "Nova, can you use your abilities to breach the main door?" Nova stepped forward, her hands glowing with ethereal energy. As she placed her palms against the massive metal door, the air crackled with power. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, with a groan of protest, the door began to slide open. "Impressive," Grick chirped, his eyes wide with admiration. As the door fully opened, revealing a cavernous warehouse filled with crates and strange devices, Ethan's communicator buzzed again. "Captain," Zax's voice came through, urgent and slightly breathless. "We've got a problem. The broker, they call him Vex, he's here, and he's making a run for it with what looks like a key component." Ethan's mind raced, weighing their options. "Understood, Zax. We'll secure what we can here. You and Krellex pursue Vex. We can't let him escape with that component." As Ethan relayed the new information to his team, they could hear the sound of approaching security forces. Time was running out. "Nova, Grick, fan out and grab anything that looks related to the defensive network," Ethan ordered. "I'll hold off the security teams." As his companions darted into the maze of artifacts, Ethan took up a defensive position near the entrance. The first wave of security guards rounded the corner, their weapons charged and ready. Ethan's hand moved to his own weapon, knowing that the next few moments could determine the success or failure of their mission. As he prepared to engage, he couldn't help but wonder, what secrets would they uncover in this treasure trove of cosmic artifacts? And would it be enough to rescue the star systems from the approaching anomaly? Approaching cosmic anomaly. With a renewed sense of urgency, Ethan and his team raced back to the Unity, their minds reeling from the revelations in the broker's storage facility. As they boarded the ship, Zax's voice crackled over the intercom. "Captain, we've tracked Vex to a nearby system. The component he stole is emitting a unique energy signature." Ethan's face hardened. "Plot a course, Zax. We can't let him get away." The Unity's engines roared to life, propelling them into hyperspace. The stars stretched into streaks of light as they hurtled towards their destination. Ethan gathered his team in the command center, their faces illuminated by the pulsing holographic displays. "We're about to enter uncharted territory," Ethan said, his voice steady despite the tension in his shoulders. "Nova, I need you to use your enhanced senses to guide us through any potential defenses." Nova nodded, her skin shimmering with impossibly strong energy. "I'm ready, Ethan." The ship emerged from hyperspace with a jolt, the vast expanse of space unfolding before them. A massive gas giant dominated the view, its swirling storms casting eerie shadows across its numerous moons. "Multiple contacts detected," Grick chirped from his station, his tentacles flying over the controls. "Dominion vessels. And something else. Unknown design." Ethan's eyes narrowed. "Zax, engage the cloaking technology. Let's see what we're dealing with." The Unity shimmered, its outline blurring as the Zephyrian cloaking field activated. They approached the moon housing the ancient facility, weaving between the orbiting ships with practiced precision. "Those unknown ships," Dr. Chen murmured, studying the sensor readings. "They bear similarities to Vex's technology. It appears he's formed an alliance with rogue Dominion elements." Ethan's mind raced, formulating a plan. "We need to get down there without being detected. Zax, prep the stealth shuttle. Nova, Grick, Dr. Chen, you're with me." As the team boarded the shuttle, Ethan felt a familiar mix of anticipation and dread. They detached from the Unity, descending towards the moon's cratered surface. Nova's eyes glowed faintly as she reached out with her senses, guiding them through a maze of ancient defense systems. The shuttle touched down near a massive structure half buried in the lunar regolith. As they disembarked, the weight of their mission settled over them like a heavy cloak. "Stay alert," Ethan warned as they approached the entrance. "We don't know what kind of defenses we'll encounter inside." The ancient doors groaned open, revealing a dimly lit corridor stretching into darkness. As they ventured deeper into the facility, they encountered a series of challenges. Puzzles that required a combination of Nova's intuition, Grick's technical expertise, and Dr. Chen's scientific knowledge to overcome. These trials, Dr. Chen mused as they solved yet another complex lock mechanism. They're designed to test more than just intelligence. They're assessing our ability to work as a unified team. Ethan nodded grimly. "Let's hope we're up to the task." As they progressed, Ethan's communicator buzzed. Zara's voice came through, tense and urgent. "Captain, we're detecting a massive energy surge from the cosmic anomaly. It's accelerating, consuming entire systems in its path." The news sent a chill through the team. Their window of opportunity was rapidly closing. Finally, they reached the central chamber. An alien interface dominated the room, its design unlike anything they had ever seen. As they approached, the device hummed to life, responding to their presence. "This is it," Ethan breathed. "Let's activate this network and put an end to the anomaly." But before they could begin the sequence, an explosion rocked the chamber. Vex and his forces poured in, weapons blazing. "I'm afraid I can't let you do that," Vex sneered, his eyes gleaming with malice. Chaos erupted in the ancient chamber. Ethan and Grick engaged Vex's forces, their weapons fire illuminating the space in strobing flashes. Nova and Dr. Chen worked frantically at the interface, racing against time to activate the defensive network. Suddenly, Nova cried out in pain, her body racked with energy fluctuations. Dr. Chen's eyes widened in realization. The Rizian mating cycle. It's interfering with the activation process. Ethan, ducking behind cover, made a split-second decision. "Dr. Chen, the experimental procedure. Do it now." With trembling hands, Dr. Chen administered the treatment, altering Ethan's physiology to make it compatible with Nova's Rizian biology. The pain was excruciating, but Ethan pushed through, racing to Nova's side. Their hands met on the interface, and a surge of energy coursed through them. The chamber filled with blinding light as the defensive network roared to life. A massive pulse emanated from the facility, temporarily incapacitating Vex and his forces. As the light faded, Ethan and Nova stood at the center of the chamber, their bodies still humming with residual energy. Around them, massive structures began to emerge across the galaxy, forming an interconnected web of energy. "We did it," Nova whispered, her eyes wide with awe. But their victory was short-lived. As they secured Vex and his surviving forces, the true nature of the cosmic anomaly came to light. It wasn't a natural phenomenon, but an ancient weapon designed to periodically reset galactic development. As the team prepared to return to the Unity, Ethan's communicator crackled once more. Commander Zax's voice came through, laden with concern. "Captain, we've got a situation. The activation of the network has caused widespread panic. The galaxy is in chaos and everyone's demanding answers." Ethan exchanged a weary glance with Nova. Their battle was nowhere near the end. As they boarded the shuttle, the weight of their newfound responsibility settled over them. They had saved the galaxy from immediate destruction, but now they faced an even greater challenge, uniting a fractured cosmic community against a threat many still didn't understand. The Unity's engines hummed to life, ready to carry them back to the heart of galactic civilization. As they lifted off from the ancient moon, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that their greatest trials still lay ahead. The weight of their newfound responsibility settled heavily on Ethan's shoulders as he guided the Unity through the vast expanse of space, heading towards the heart of galactic civilization. As they approached their destination, the ship's communication array lit up with urgent messages from various factions, demanding explanations for the sudden appearance of the defensive network. Ethan exchanged a weary glance with Nova, who stood beside him on the bridge, her skin still shimmering with residual energy. "We knew this wouldn't be easy," Ethan said, his voice low, "but I don't think any of us anticipated just how chaotic the aftermath would be." Nova nodded, her eyes fixed on the holographic display showing their approach vector. "The Galactic Council will want answers. We need to be prepared for anything." As if on cue, a priority transmission cut through the chatter. The stern face of Counselor Vex Thra, a senior member of the Galactic Council, appeared on the main view screen. "Captain Ethan, your presence is required immediately for an emergency council session." The counselor's mandibles clicked with nearly unleashed agitation. "You will explain your actions and the nature of this network you have activated." Ethan straightened his posture, meeting the counselor's gaze. "Understood, Counselor. We'll dock at the central station as soon as we arrive." As the transmission ended, Ethan turned to his crew. "Dr. Chen, Zara, I need you to compile all the data we've gathered on the cosmic anomaly and the defensive network. Grick, run a full diagnostic on the Unity systems. We may need to demonstrate our findings." The next few hours passed in a flurry of activity as the team prepared for their presentation. As they approached the massive space station that served as the seat of the Galactic Council, Ethan couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the structure's grandeur. Countless ships of various designs swarmed around it, a testament to the diversity of the galactic community. The Unity docked smoothly, and Ethan, along with Nova, Dr. Chen, and Zara, made their way to the council chambers. The cavernous room fell silent as they entered, all eyes fixed on the small group that had changed the face of the galaxy overnight. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, I understand you have questions. We're here to provide answers and to show you why our actions were necessary. For the next hour, Ethan presented their findings, his voice steady as he explained the true nature of the cosmic anomaly. Dr. Chen and Zara added their insights, providing scientific data to support their claims. But it was Nova who truly captured the Council's attention. Using her enhanced abilities, Nova projected a vivid holographic simulation of the devastation that would have occurred without their intervention. The Council members watched in stunned silence as entire star systems were consumed by the anomaly's relentless advance. Despite the compelling presentation, skepticism remained. Councilor Zrelax, a Dominion representative, leaned forward, his cybernetic eye whirring as it focused on Ethan. While your data is impressive, Captain, it doesn't explain how you were able to activate this ancient network. What gives you the right to make such a monumental decision on behalf of the galaxy? Ethan hesitated, glancing at Nova. They had discussed whether to reveal the full extent of their connection, knowing it could be met with suspicion or even hostility. But in that moment, Ethan realized that transparency was their only path forward. The activation of the network required a unique combination of factors. Ethan began, his voice steady. It wasn't just about technology or knowledge. It required a deep connection between species, a harmony that we've only begun to understand. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her eyes bright with excitement. If I may, Captain? At Ethan's nod, she continued, Our research into interspecies biology has revealed something extraordinary. The bond between Captain Ethan and Nova, a human and a Risian, was the key to activating the network. A murmur rippled through the council chamber as Dr. Chen and Zara presented their findings. Holographic displays showed the intricate biological interactions between Ethan and Nova, demonstrating how their unique connection had channeled the energy necessary to power the ancient defenses. As the implications of this revelation sank in, the mood in the chamber shifted. Discussions broke out among the council members, some excited by the potential for new forms of cooperation, others wary of the unknown consequences. Councilor Vexthra raised a hand, silencing the chamber. This is indeed a significant discovery. However, we must consider... The councilor's words were cut short as alarms blared throughout the station. Ethan's communicator buzzed urgently, and Grick's voice came through, tense and hurried. Captain, the cosmic anomaly. It's adapted. It's probing the defensive network for weaknesses. Our current solution won't hold indefinitely. Ethan's mind raced, adrenaline surging through his system. He looked at Nova, saw the same perseverance reflected in her eyes, and knew what they had to do. Turning back to the council, Ethan's voice rang out clear and decisive. Counselors, we don't have much time. I have a plan, but it's going to require something from all of us, something that's never been attempted before. As Ethan began to outline his daring proposal, he could see the mix of fear, excitement, and uncertainty on the faces of the council members. The fate of humanity and all alien species hung in the balance, and the next few moments would determine whether they could come together to face this threat as a unified force.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.